Welcome back to Your Hour. Joining me now is Paul Rosales from RE/MAX Realty Professionals, and we've been talking a lot about different things that need to be done in order to buy or sell a home. One of the places we need to start is making sure you have decent credit.
Right, right. And, that's obviously important because if your credit's not right, then that can totally mess up all your plans. We talked about ways of buying houses without having acceptable credit for banks, but if you're wanting to go with the bank route, then just as soon as you begin thinking about buying a house, it's important to sit down with a loan officer, even if you're not going to buy for a year, maybe a year and a half. When you first start thinking about it, sit down with a loan officer, have them pull what's called your FICO report. Your FICO report, in a way, is kind of a conglomeration of the three different credit reports, the three major credit reports. Sometimes, though, not everything's on there, or sometimes there's things on there that shouldn't be. Especially if you have a common name, like, say, for example, John Smith. There's, probably millions of people out there with the last name Smith. You want to make sure that your information is your information, and that the information might not be coming from somebody, say, living in New England, something like that. You want to be able to sit down with your loan officer. They'll pull your FICO report. They'll make sure everything's fine on there. You may be sitting at, say, a 680 credit score, but to get the next percentage point or a portion of a percentage point down on your interest rate, you may need to be at 700. So you're only 20 points away. And there may be just a couple of things, or maybe just one thing that you need to do in order to bring it up to 700. So it's important to get that started because improving credit isn't really a super fast process.
Right.
It's not like you can just do it immediately. The credit bureaus really aren't built for speed. They're built to collect large amounts of information on people, and where they make their money is they sell the information. There's only about 300 million Americans, yet there's about 500 million credit reports on Americans.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of duplicate information there. A lot of them are still sitting there from people who aren't even alive anymore.
Wow.
And if there's John B. Smith who died 5 years ago and there's John B. Smith trying to buy a house now, it could all get crossed up. Plus not to mention the proliferation lately of identity fraud.
Sure.
It's entirely possible that you could already be a victim of identity fraud and not even know it.
Right.
Because really the only time that you know about that is when you check your credit report and there's accounts open you didn't have anything to do with, or you start getting delinquency notifications in the mail saying, why haven't you paid this? Things like that can really be something that takes a little bit of time to recover from. Therefore, the earlier that you detect something like that, the faster you'll be able to rectify the problem. Another thing might be maybe you paid something off in the past and that wasn't reported accurately on your credit report. It's up to you as an individual to talk to whoever that creditor was and have them report accurately to the credit bureaus. I had this happen to me on an old J.C. Penney's account. I had two accounts open back in the 90s, and I called customer service one day and they consolidated both accounts. I said, so I just pay with one check? Sure. They didn't convert it over properly. I had paid it off, but it showed like $124 left over from like 1996. And I talked to him, I said, I paid this off, and I proved that I was able to pay it off, but it was just something that took a while.
Yeah, right.
And it popped up again.
And it was a pain in the butt to have to do, too.
It popped up a couple of times on my credit report when I didn't think that it was going to be an issue anymore. And finally, they went ahead and I got a letter from them stating, yeah, this is taken care of. So if it ever pops up again, I've got it on their letterhead. But make sure that everything's in order. From the time you start thinking about buying a house to the time you actually start shopping, it's not a bad idea to stay in touch with your loan officer. Have your loan officer pull your FICO report maybe every 6 months. Make sure everything's okay because you don't want your plans to get all mixed up. This also pertains to people who are getting ready to sell a house. Even if you're not intending on buying another house, maybe you're going to move into a retirement community or something like that. Make sure your credit's going to be okay. You don't want to have to deal with that later on. Also, if you are selling your house and you're going to buy another home, make sure your credit's okay. You may have thought that that's not on, that there should be nothing on your credit report, but then again, there may be a couple of things on there that you didn't expect. I think you had a situation where you turned off a phone for your mother. It pops back up. Something like that slips between the cracks. It can be something that takes a few months to be able to get off of your credit report. And if you're already under contract on a house, that can destroy the contract. So make sure that from the very second you start thinking about doing something like buying a house, you start going through your credit report. Sit down, and the neat thing about sitting down with a loan officer is, like I'd mentioned before, you may be at a 680 or you may be at a 620 and you need a 640 to get the loan. They'll tell you those things. Maybe there's 5 derogatory items on your credit report, and they'll say, well, altogether you're going to need about $10,000 to take care of all this. You may not have the extra $10,000. They may say, instead of taking care of all 5, according to our guidelines, we only need these 2 or 3 things taken care of. The others you can take care of after closing. And then you're able to formulate a plan of rectifying your credit problem. And so it's important to sit down with them, because even after you've paid a bill or what have you, it can take 30 to 60 to 90 days for the credit bureaus to be able to get all that properly recorded and have time to be able to update your credit score.
Right.
Give me a call if you have any questions on it. I'll put you in touch with the right loan officer.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with some movies, so stay with us.